Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to do some isometric holds for wrist flexion and wrist extension. So this is a great exercise for anyone who's pretty acute in an injury, whether you have a wrist injury, forearm injury, and it's pretty acute, meaning it just happened recently and you're probably a lot of pain right now. This is going to be a great exercise to start off, right? And eventually the goal is to progress from here. So every lift has what's called a concentric, which is the lifting phase, the eccentric, which is the lowering phase, and then there's what's called an isometric. An isometric is when there is muscle contraction, but there's no movement, right? So in case of a bicep curl, right, the concentric, the eccentric, but then the isometric is at any point where you just pause and you're resisting, but there's no movement. That's what we're gonna do with the wrist. So I'll show you 3 positions. So you could use the box, you could do it from your knee or on a bench, and I'll show you that. But basically, what you're gonna do, you're gonna hold on to the weight here, you're gonna let go, and you're just gonna maintain this position, right? When you're holding on to a weight, you're resisting the weight to bring your wrist down, or if we're doing the flexion one, right, you don't want it to bring it down. So we'll use a dumbbell. Don't go super heavy, but choose a fairly challenging weight as long as it's not causing too much discomfort or pain. So if we're doing, since this is wrist flexion going up, we're gonna call this the wrist flexion isometric. So once you're ready, you just let go and you just hold this position. I like doing these for 3 sets of 30-second holds. So your goal is just to hold this, make sure your wrist doesn't start to drop. If it does, you might be having using too much of weight, so you might have to go down, but you're just holding this, right? After 30 seconds, take a little break, shake it off, and then go right back into it. Again, you hold on to the weight. Once you're ready, you just hold this. What you're doing is that these muscles of the wrist, your wrist flexors, are contracting. They're trying to maintain that position so that it doesn't start to let go and the wrist starts to fall. If you're doing the wrist extension, that's going to be the opposite way, right? So in this case, the weight wants to bring the wrist down. So we are going to position it right here, and you're resisting any movement, right? So now we're using the wrist extensors, the ones that help to bring the wrist up and open up your hands. And those muscles are contracting, they're firing, and not allowing the weight to bring your wrist down. Again, we like doing 3 sets of 30-second holds. So if you don't have a box, we could do this a few other ways. One, we could do it right at the knee. So you can position yourself here. Once you're ready, you let go. Just do it right over here. Again, your 3 sets of 30 seconds. Or we could do the extension one, right? We just maintain this, make sure the weight doesn't move. And the last variation is on a bench itself. So if you have a bench, you get into a half kneeling position. Put yourself right over here. Once you let go, we're just gonna maintain this position. Again, count your 30 seconds, take a little break, and go right back into it. If we're doing the extension, same thing, position yourself here. Don't let that wrist move, right? No motion, maintain this nice straight position, hold it for those 30 seconds, and then take your break.